And welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Some new updates on chronic wasting disease for any wildlife or hunting people here in the state of Pennsylvania. Game Commission just came out with it. We're going to talk about tipping points as far as where the world's at, inflation, housing, cars, the market. That'll be interesting. We're also going to talk about players versus fans. There was an incident last night with Russell Westbrook. Kyrie Irving said some things before they head to Boston, so we thought it'd be interesting to talk about some of that. And then we're going to try a new segment. You guys enjoyed all the Disney stuff, so we're going to try a new segment called Rotten Tomatoes Was Wrong. And Mark's picked out a movie for us to discuss at the end that he thinks Rotten Tomatoes. Actually, I don't know if you think Rotten Tomatoes is wrong. You just think it's a good debate one.
Yeah, I think it was wrong.
Okay.
I don't think it was wrong. You think it was more wrong than I do, but I found it like for you. I was like, this one's going to fire Jeff up. So
that's kind of true. How are you feeling today?
Well, let me tell you, I was good when I got here, and then I saw they passed out this little sheet here. I'll show you. This little sheet of the hierarchy here, NorthcentralPa.com, and where it says midday. One, it says midday executive. That's under Jeff. Now, I realize you do all the technological stuff, and I just sit here and talk to you while you do the technological stuff. I went and got lunch today, though, while you were doing the technological stuff. So you are midday executive. Under Mark, it says, of one of the things I do, it says midday cohort. So that is, as you're trying to build people up to achieve, like you are an executive, I am merely a cohort.
As the youth say nowadays, I see no lies. I knew you would. Tell Jimmy I said that. He'll get it. Jimmy will know what's going on.
I guess.
Chronic wasting disease. Can I put you on the spot a little bit? This is the first time you had really, I don't want to say heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about it.
Yeah, you didn't know much about it. Or I guess you didn't realize how prevalent it was necessarily in the state of Pennsylvania might be the best way to put it.
I'm just worried about me.
You're just worried about you.
Am I going to waste away here?
So the Pennsylvania Game Commission came out today. They released that there was a confirmed positive case for chronic wasting disease in a white-tailed deer in Warren County Hunting Preserve. The remaining deer were euthanized, and CWD was not detected in any of the samples. However, it just shows kind of the growth, the spread of CWD. What do you, before I kind of go through the
let me just jump in here.
Go ahead.
Because I'm a geographic expert, of course. Where is Warren County?
So I have the map right here in front of me. Warren County is, I believe, west. However, it is more northern.
What do you mean? You have the map in front of you and you believe it's west?
I believe it's west. Well, they're not listed. I just know what the counties. Like the county names aren't on the CWD map.
Oh, okay.
Right,
I was going to say, it's like, are you saying you can't read the map, or you don't know which way is north and south and east and west?
So the reason Warren County is significant, relevant to north central Pennsylvania, I believe it is west. However, it is more northern west than
it sounds
typical.
West.
Yes, it's west, but it's northern west, where this originated in Pennsylvania south west. So below Harrisburg, think like the Shippensburg area, the Gettysburg area, and it has slowly kind of creeped up the state. And so this is just another example of its prevalence and how it's spreading across the state.
I mean, it sounds scary. I'm scared. Can it spread to humans? I've seen these movies, and we saw what a bat did.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit concerned.
So it's a disease that mainly affects deer, elk. I know it's been spotted in reindeer, and I actually think they've had some cases in moose. So it kind of stays there. There have been no traces or no evidence that humans can contract it.
Good.
To date. So that is a positive. That's one of the positives of it. But what makes it so unique, and obviously, maybe someday we can bring someone on from the Game Commission to do a better job than me. But what makes it so unique is how it attacks the body. It goes after the lymph nodes. It goes after tissue. So like it goes after the spinal cord. It goes after the brain. So what happens to the animal is it has this very zombie-like appearance. They become skinny. They slouch. Their muscle starts to deteriorate. The spinal cord loses its stability. So they're kind of like hunched over, wobbly, skinny. In some cases, they start to lose their fur. So it's called chronic wasting disease because the animal's literally wasting away. But part of the fascination with it is we've seen all these zombie movies and things going on, and it does kind of zombify the deer. Did I just make up a word? Zombify the deer.
Very good.
So yeah, it is. It basically attacks the brain, almost makes them, it doesn't make them brain dead, but they start to lose the function. It burns away the tissue. And then the spinal cord gives them this kind of lumbering, the lack of traction in the spinal cord tissue gives it this lumbering appearance, kind of like a zombie.
From your vast research on this, that it affects deer worse than it affects anything else.
Yeah, so what they've noticed for deer, it's been mostly white-tailed deer, for whatever reason, seem to have like the worst effect. They don't have a lot of, it seems as structurally, internally, there doesn't seem a lot going on. You think about like what the human body does to fight off sickness and disease. It appears whatever it is about this, white-tailed deer just do not do well with it. Even worse so than their counterparts, whether, it's elk or moose or anything else. However, obviously they can still get it as well. But it is freaky. It's just so different. It's so unique to other diseases or other things that we see. And I think that's part of what makes it, I don't know, the zombie aspect of it is
right. No, it's different. Yeah, it's really different. No, that is scary. It is. All right, that's all I got to say.
That's fine. Just a couple of other things real quick. It is in a couple of areas in Canada. It's been seen in Norway and also in South Korea. They have also had parts of CWD. And again, it infects animals, develops symptoms. And the biggest one is drastic weight loss, stumbling, and neurological symptoms. And that's why it gets that wasting disease. That's why it's also called like zombie deer disease.
By the way, if you hear a barking dog in the background, Jeff brought his dog to work today.
Yeah, I did. I had no choice.
The dog's first day in the new office. And
he's enjoying it.
And yes, he's a little wound up, as you can hear. So, all right.
Let's talk about, we were talking about what to talk about today, and I kept coming across articles. And the more and more I looked up, there were a lot of articles about the price of cars going up. There were a lot of articles about the housing market staying hot and the prices still being inflated. And you and I have talked a lot. We've talked a lot about cryptocurrency and about the market and things like that. I think just tipping points, like where the world's at. But let's start with cars. Is that all right?
Sure.
So everyone's heard about the microchips in cars and how they've been delayed. So it's causing cars to be delayed. It's causing the price to go up. However, manufacturers are now coming up and saying that they're going to have a shortage in car bodies, the material to create the bodies of the car. And then they're also having plastic shortages. So they're having trouble for bumpers and for different parts of the car that are made out of the plastic as well. And they're predicting that throughout the summer, the price of cars are going to jump significantly.
Should I go get your dog?
I don't know. Do you think he's okay?
I don't know. Let me go check. You keep talking a little bit. I'm going to go.
So that's the price of cars, and it's not just new cars. So
hey, buddy, come here. Come here. You okay?
So one of the things that I had talked about, this is the best part about this. Mark doesn't know that his mic is still on, so he's calling the dog with his mic on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
know, it was great. Yeah, I know you did. That's why it was great. So this is one of the parts that's neat about it. I shouldn't say neat because it's not good news for a lot of people. You would think that these shortages would only affect the price of new vehicles or new cars. However,
hey, get out of the trash can. I know it's delicious. Here, I'll give you a cookie instead. Here, let me have this.
However, no, you're fine. So you would think it would only affect the prices of new cars, right? Because it's shortages for new materials. However, what they're noticing is the price of used cars are going up as well. So not only is it affecting new car prices, but because new car prices are getting jacked up, people are now looking into more affordable options like used cars, and they're jacking up the prices of used cars now. Well, so it's affecting
we've
both
talked
markets.
About it. There's so many aspects of society now that people need to get back to work, and that we've seen the fallout of people. The pandemic caused job issues and people are struggling, and so we give them money. And what we found, this is going to be as society moves on. The term, like in the last presidential election, they keep the Republicans have associated Democrats with socialism, and which is certainly unfair because some people, like Bernie, is more socialistic than other people. But this is showing what happens with socialism. Like, you give people just free money because, supposedly we have money, so we just give it to the people who need it, and then people stop working, and now all these other things. And there's a long, it's a tangled web that we live in, and there's lots of fallout from it. And we see whether it's restaurants closing, whether it's we've talked about businesses closing because they had shortages of customers because of COVID, and we had lockdown. Now we have businesses closing because they have shortages of employees because they don't need them. And we've joked here, and not really a funny joke, but for all our entire lives, no matter how old you are, I'm almost 50, you're in your mid 30s, but everybody out there, whenever a new company came to the area and said, we're going to create 150 new jobs or 300 new jobs or whatever, this has always been a wonderful thing. Now we look at it and we're saying, we can't even fill the jobs that we need. So is it good to bring another business in here who isn't going to be able to find any employees? So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason I use the word tipping points is I don't know. And again, I'm just young enough where I feel too naive to say this, but I kind of feel it. It just feels like the world's never been at more of a tipping point in my existence. It feels like everything's just holding on, whether it's the price of cars, the price of housing, the price of food, the stock market. I feel like for the first time ever, if somebody says they know what's happening or they know what's going to happen, they're just full of crap. And at least beforehand, like, you understood the price of cars and where it was coming from, or you understood the housing market and why it was doing what it was doing, or even the stock market there was analytical points to the stock market that made sense. This right now, like, it just feels like everything's at a tipping point. And I don't want to say nothing makes sense, but the explanation for things, I don't know.
Well, I think so far, yeah. I mean, we've had it so good here in the United States for the most part. Obviously, we had 9/11, and we have the Afghanistan war that has lingered on and all that stuff. So it's not, not everything's been sunshine and rainbows, but in general, when you talk about the older generations who grew up during World War I and then to World War II and then to Korea and then to Vietnam, like a lot of that, we've lived in prosperity, and it's been easy, and it's been easy to be a politician because there were decisions, but it was mostly about getting reelected as opposed to doing things. And now these decisions are not just easy, and you're like, oh, the people have lost their jobs. So what looks good, what sounds good, what'll make people happy, we'll give them money. Well, now we see there's a fallout to that. And that's what it's going to take, some really intelligent people whose number one goal isn't just, I'm trying to say sound bites that the people will like, so my approval rating's high, so I get reelected. Yeah. And that's, I can't think of anything economically like this. Maybe the people back in the 70s when there was the gas shortages and inflation and, interest rates were 19%. Maybe those people can relate to this. I'm not old enough to remember that.
But even that was different, right? Because I don't even know what a specialist is anymore. Like, if I wanted to talk to somebody who understood the price of cars, I don't even know if that person really exists anymore. Like, if I wanted to talk to somebody who truly understood, like, the pricing of houses and what that, like, I just think it's harder and harder to find people now that truly understand what's going on. Because a lot of it, like, there's no actual specialist who has gone through this experience before.
That's true. And I know I'm a realtor, and in the real estate market, when COVID showed up and it shut the world down, and like, we weren't allowed to show houses. There's like a month or 6 weeks where they weren't even showing, and then we tried to figure it out as we went. And the courthouses were shut down and nobody knew what was going to come on the backside. And kind of ever since then, it's been insane. Yeah. This has been this spring was the craziest real estate market anyone's ever seen, as far as houses going on the market, multiple offers, higher than asking price, no inspections, escalated clauses, all kinds of things. It was nuts. And you're right. You have people who are 70 years old who've been a realtor for 45 years who'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah. And the difference, like, again, there are smarter people than me that will do a better job explaining this. But even like in 2008,
that person is not me, because I'm merely a cohort.
But even in 2008, like, it was very much like, I don't want to say it was pocketed, but like 2008, it was a housing crisis, mortgages, people betting on the mortgages, and it all collapsed. And at least that was like confined in a way. Like you knew the cause and effect and you could trail it. This is so vast and it's so many different markets and it's so many different things going on that it's just so different from '08 or the other things before it in that sense of like, it's like you said, it's all interweaved and it's all connected. But to find the cause and effect isn't simple. Like it's really complicated to find out what's actually like causing this stuff and what's making it happen.
Well, and I think too back then it was about rules and it was about, you know, how the housing market worked and money down and approvals and how they got mortgages, but it was about rules. Now we're seeing, I think it kind of all goes back to toilet paper. Like where do we get to a point in society where we don't have enough? And A, they can't make it, and B, they can't ship it, and then they can't keep it on the shelves. And it was just kind of a, you know, now we've got all these other things. It's gone from, you know, I remember when I was talking to someone like PVC pipe. It's hard to come up with. We've talked about the price of
lumber
and plywood.
Yeah.
That is just out of this world. And now we get to cars, and it's because we need people along the way to produce it, to ship it, to sell it, to all these things, and we don't have enough people in the workforce because we gave them all this money. And so,
it's weird. It feels like a tipping point. Like this is even going through the pandemic. There were times I remember early in the pandemic, I called my parents and I was like, you don't need to buy a ton of toilet paper, but if you have a favorite cereal, go buy a box because you'll still be able to get cereal. It just may not be the kind you want. Like, so I kind of like saw like the logistics and like how the chain, like supply chain was going to be affected, but it was never like a tipping point of like, boy, I never thought cereal was going to be overpriced. Like I never thought toilet paper would necessarily like completely run out. This is the first time where I look at the price of things and it just feels like it can't sustain. It just feels like whether it's cars or housing or the market or whatever it is, buying groceries, whatever it is, no matter how simple or complicated, everything just seems like it's kind of like on a wobbly leg and it's just kind of like trying to stand up on its own right now.
I'm just shocked that when push came to shove, you picked cereal over toilet paper.
It was just
because
an example.
I think that's a wrong. I was in Weis Markets a lot during the pandemic. I saw lots of empty shelves of toilet paper. I never saw an empty shelf of Lucky Charms.
There was a time during the pandemic where you couldn't get specific brands. Like you could get, like they never ran out of cereal, but you could only get specific brands. They never ran out of pasta, but you couldn't get like the high, like you ended up getting like the store brand or something like that. So it was one of those things where if you really wanted something, like you almost needed to
toilet
go get
paper.
You wanted toilet. How much toilet paper did you end up left over with? That's the best part is these people who are left over
but
with
it won't go bad.
Toilet paper.
It won't go bad.
No, it won't go bad, but it's just sitting there in your closet with nothing to do.
Nothing to do. Yeah, you're worried about the happiness of the toilet paper?
No, I'm worried about the people occupying.
All I'm saying is
that's worse than just piling kindling in your closet.
Is that
like what?
Is that what it is?
It is.
All right, are we ready to spin the wheel? And now, not only again, thank you to Weis Markets for sponsoring the Midday Show and providing some of the gift cards. $25 gift card, $50 gift card, $100 gift card on the wheel to Weis Markets. They have all your stuff. Now they have toilet paper, as everyone does. That was a weird time in life. Like if you want to cripple a citizenship, take away their toilet paper.
I don't get it. Do people buy real quick? Do people not buy toilet paper in bulk? Do people buy it like roll by roll? Like, do you wake? No, like, do people go to the bathroom roll by roll. And then like? No, I'm asking because I still don't understand the toilet paper crisis. Because the only way you would panic is if you bought your toilet paper roll by roll.
No, the way you panic is if every time you go to the grocery store, if you go every day for 2 weeks and the shelves are empty.
Yes, but if you buy your if you're buying like a 9-pack or like a box of toilet paper, what is the panic?
You're different because you're single. Like when you have a family of 5 or 6,
okay,
you can go through it a lot quicker.
I agree with that. So why aren't you buying it in bulk then?
Well, you do buy it, but you don't buy it like you buy. So it's just like everything else. You get low, and you're like, "Oh, we're getting low. I should probably get some."
The toilet paper crisis
but
made
low
me feel
isn't like you don't have 25 rolls spare, and then you're like, oh, we're getting low.
The toilet paper crisis made me feel like people woke up in the morning, they went to the bathroom, and then they would look at the roll and they'd be like, oh, there's only 12
How many
flies
rolls
left,
do you get down
or there's only 12 things left, and they would be like, I guess I'll go get another roll of toilet paper.
We got to keep moving, but now I'm perplexed. How many rolls do you get down to where you're like, God, I got to restock?
Like 2, 3.
Okay, so when you've got a family of 5 and you're at 2 or 3, and you can't get it today, and you can't get it tomorrow,
but not
and you can't get it the next day.
Every family of 5 was down to 2 or 3 rolls.
But that's how people work. You don't. Like, how many extra tubes of toothpaste do you have?
This is the difference.
You have none. And then you get down to one, you're like, oh, we're running low, and then you're just like, ooh, and then you go get it. This is the
difference. You're panicking, and it's over. Like,
I'm not.
You are panicking. Because this is what happens.
So
people like you looked and said, oh my God, it's the 3rd day in a row, and there's no toilet paper because you went to Weis Markets for the 3rd day in a row for some reason.
It's the 13th day in a row.
Go ahead. We're going to disagree on this.
All right. Thank you to Weis Markets, where you can get all your toilet paper now. Go buy it all. Jeff doesn't need it. Jeff would get cereal.
I do not need it.
And then he could wipe with the box when he's done, and that would be delightful. So anyway, also on the Midday Show wheel, we have the Moon and Raven, which was winner yesterday. We have Eat and Run Catering, and we also have the Break Room. I announced at the beginning of the week because last week I went 0 for 5. And if you've watched the show religiously, you realize that Jeff sucks at spinning the wheel and I'm a lot better. And I said at the beginning of the week I would go 3 for 5 this week, which mathematically isn't, I got a 1 in 3 chance.
True.
And not only have I was wrong. I've not gone 3 for 5. I've gone 3 for 3. So I'm giving out winners every day. So you get a T-shirt if you win. T-shirts are, I said supposedly, and I didn't pick them up yet. And we're going to be mailing them out soon. Plus, we have gift cards, and we're having a lot of fun. So anyway, we have a winner for today.
Yes.
Oh, and I've also, not only am I a cohort, but Jeff has made fun of me for my weak wheel spinning because he's like, when we're at my house, and I used to spin the wheel, and it used to go zoomer, zoomer, zoomer all around. And I was like, well, it's because I'm sitting, and I can't get alongside of it. So today I'm actually going to move, and I'm going to adjust, and I'm going to get to a spot so I can crank the wheel like, you know.
Spin it.
I'm ready. So who is the lucky recipient who's going to get to watch me spin the wheel so fast it's going to go like a saw blade?
For a chance to win, join our Facebook group, The Midday Show. Our random winner from the Facebook group today is Natasha Williams.
All right, here we go, Natasha. I'm heading over here. Can you even see me anymore?
We don't want to see you.
Right-handed.
Just spin the wheel.
Here we go. Spin the wheel. Was that hard enough? Is it good enough?
Perfect.
Is it good enough? Is it good enough? And now, see, I lost because you ruined my mojo. Sorry, Natasha. That was Jeff's fault because when I get to sit and spin it this way, it works and I win. But Jeff doesn't care about our viewers. I do. That's why he's a big executive. He doesn't care about the small people. I'm just a cohort.
Has anyone ever told you you're a little bit of a powder? Just a little bit. Not. It's not like crippling, but it's
a crippling powder. No, I've never heard that. And
All
just to continue pouting, I'm gonna eat a cookie halfway through the show. So go ahead. What do you got next?
Players versus fans. So one of the neat things about everything reopening up, I don't know if you've watched any of the like hockey or the NBA playoffs, but the places are packed, and it is like, I remember you and I talked before. We had talked about how when American fans are so different from foreign fans or European fans, they're just not as interactive. Like it's not as diehard as like a soccer game here in the States.
You're not as fearful for your life?
No, correct. I don't know if you saw any of the playoffs. Madison Square Garden in the Knicks-Hawks series is out of control. The fans are standing the whole time.
There's a reason for this.
Because they haven't been able to in a long time.
Because the Knicks have sucked since Patrick Ewing was here.
Yes. Listen, Madison Square Garden right now is a perfect storm. I'm not disagreeing with you because not only do you have the Knicks are finally good after almost 2 decades, you also have people in New York City are finally back. People in the country are dying to go to a sports game. People in New York City are dying to do anything in public or in a group. So people are going not only filling into Madison Square Garden, but they are out of control. They're standing, they're cheering, they're going nuts. However, with that also comes kind of the backlash that we've forgotten about, and that idea of like fans mistreating players or altercations. Last night in Philadelphia, of all places, I'm sure you're not surprised, in Philadelphia, popcorn was dumped on Russell Westbrook. And here's the context of this is what really makes it bad. Russell Westbrook sprains his ankle, hops off the floor. The trainers are now leading him back towards the tunnel. And as he's walking under the tunnel, a fan leans over, dumps his popcorn onto him, which to me, I mean, it would be awful if they were dumping their popcorn onto a healthy player, onto any player, but to dump it onto a player who is injured. And listen, Russell Westbrook wasn't dying. Like, I'm not sitting here saying like he was in harm's way, but to dump something onto a player that is clearly injured after they're coming off the court is just a step above anything that I've seen Philadelphia really do before.
Well, part of the, as you read through it, of course, and again, as we often joke that the internet is still undefeated. My favorite comment of the whole thing so far is, thank God they didn't dump this on LeBron, because he would have needed like an ambulance and a stretcher to get back to the bench. But yeah, it's one of the things that's just it's so shocking as people miss the big picture is that like there's people who said it was just popcorn. Like, who cares? And it's so there's some moron who thinks he's cool and who thinks he was going to be like, he can go home and he go to work tomorrow and tell his story to his buddies. And it's like the first time he's ever been cool in his life. He's like, I dumped popcorn on Russell Westbrook. And it's just like, no matter where you are at work, if you walk into work and someone comes up and dumps popcorn on your head, like there's an issue. Like somebody could dump a glass of water on throw water in your face and it's not dangerous,
right? But
it's still an issue. And dude, I'm out of food. I got nothing left. I'm done. I'm sorry. So, so that's the whole, like, it's not the danger part of it. It's the disrespect part of it, but it could be dangerous at some point. Like they just can't allow this kind of stuff. But like, I'm all in favor of, listen, like the guys that they run on the field during, the Super Bowl or whatever. And I'm all in favor of, like, when the security guards catch them and take them underneath, they can beat them to a pulp because they were doing it to be cool. And they're like, look how cool I am. And now we're like, well, look how cool you aren't.
Did you hear Charles Barkley's comment about it?
No, but if he said let Russell beat the crap out of the guy, I'm all in favor of it.
Essentially, that's what he said. He also said that Russell should be allowed to, like, invite him onto the court. So rather than Russell having to go into the stands, like, Russell should be allowed to just stop the game, stand at midcourt, and basically invite the guy down.
And pummel him. I agree. Because if the guy, like, if this is, I'm going to be cool, and look at how I'm going to show off to my buddies because I'm going to be cool, then if you want the attention, sure, you can be cool while Russell's beating your brains in.
Yeah, no, I'm not against it. I mean, the hard part, and we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving here in a second, the hard part is just that idea of it only takes one person. And that's the tricky part, is it takes one person to do the wrong thing, and all of a sudden now it looks like it's bad on Philadelphia. It looks like it's bad on the team. I just think in this case, the timing, like, you're finally allowed back in. A player gets hurt, and your first instinct is to dump popcorn on them. Like, I just don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I get it. And again, we're able to make light of it because it was only popcorn. It wasn't dangerous. It's all symbolic. But back to the comments, someone made a comment of, it's either harass. They were talking about what the legal charge was. Is it assault? Is it harassment? Is it whatever it was called? And of course, then people were like, well, of course it's assault. It's butter. Or no, wait, what was it? It's popcorn. It's assault and buttery. And it was, so that was, they kind of had a lot of fun with that too.
That's pretty funny. So then Kyrie Irving gave a press conference. For those who don't know, Kyrie Irving used to play for the Boston Celtics. That's who they're currently playing right now, the Brooklyn Nets. They played the first 2 games in Brooklyn. They are now going to travel and play the 3rd game in Boston. And Kyrie Irving made the comment, and I'll read it he said, I'm just looking forward to competing with my teammates, and hopefully we can just keep it strictly basketball. There's no belligerent or any racism going on, subtle racism and people yelling stuff from the crowd. And the comment was very, let's be completely honest. I have no doubt that at some point in the majority of stadiums, there has been racist comments made. There have been things thrown at these players that they do not deserve. But for Kyrie Irving, to basically come out with very little context. And that's just, if he didn't just say like, hopefully we can just keep it on basketball or everything else, he's almost implying that the only reason people in Boston would boo him is because of racism when Kyrie Irving left Boston. And Kyrie Irving quit on Boston a couple of years ago. And so it just was a very weird statement to make with very little context behind it.
Well, sports-wise, Boston has a tradition, and it might have been CC Sabathia. There was a I think it was CC. There's a lot of black baseball players, when you ask them the worst city to play in, and they will say it's Boston. That is, and there's like, there's no debate. Like who's second is a debate, but it's kind of been just historically understood. So it doesn't surprise me that Boston continues to carry that tradition through the other sports. But yes, like you said, it's Kyrie's not a dumb guy. Kyrie went to Duke. Kyrie is
really intelligent.
He's I almost said weird, and that's probably unfair.
No, he is weird. He's a weird guy.
He's different. Yes. For a superstar basketball player, he's different. And this, you're right. He's kind of turned the page. Like, hey, when they boo me really, really hard, maybe it's because I'm black. And you're saying, maybe it's because they hate you because when you were here, you didn't really care.
Listen, I'm not defending anybody in Boston because people are going to boo him and people are going to say things. The people who say things that are intolerant of race are wrong and they need to be handled or they should be out of there. But the problem is like there's going to be a lot of people booing Kyrie Irving because he wasn't a very good person when he was playing for the Boston Celtics.
Correct.
And so to hedge it, and again, like you said, he's a smart dude. This feels more like a hedge than him actually being necessarily worried about comments about race. It feels like he's basically saying, I know I'm going to Boston. I know it's going to be brutal. And I probably internally know I didn't handle myself the best while I was there. But hey, just so you know, like there are some racist people there. And if you hear the boos and stuff, that could be it. It wasn't that I was a bad person. It just could be the fact that they're racist.
In the NBA, in the first few rounds are 2-2, 1-1-1, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
he's got.
So they're going to Boston for 3 and 4. So he's hoping that he gets one trip to Boston. He never has to go back because if they can win one of the two in Boston, they'll be up 3-1, and then Game 5 will be home and they can put it away.
And just to end this, he's not wrong. I have no doubt that he has heard or been the target of racist comments in Boston Garden. There's no doubt in mind. There's too many stories. There's too many players that have come out and said it. So there's no doubt that like what he's inkling towards, like what he's hinting at, it's not that it's not true. It's just the idea that he's hedging it before he goes. And
for people who aren't basketball fans, he was not drafted by the Celtics. He was not an original Celtic. He was a Cleveland Cavalier at first, which is he ended up playing with LeBron, and then when they left, and that's so. It wasn't like that was the organization he came up through. Boston was just a stop along the way.
Yes. A little bit of fun before we go today. You wanted to try a new segment. Rotten Tomatoes was wrong. We had some fun with the Amazon bought MGM. So we had some fun with that. And then we also had some fun with Disney debate because you really didn't have I'm still blown away by your Disney background.
Whatever.
Which is fine.
Well, we think we can go a lot of ways with this because sometimes Rotten Tomatoes, if you never checked out the site, where have you been? But it's they have what the fans think, what the critics think, and obviously there'll be times that we go underrated, overrated movies that got really good scores that we didn't like, or movies that got panned that we thought were much, much better than they were given credit for. Yeah. So we talked about doing this for a while now, and then after the segment yesterday. So I was looking through some of these, trying to find out which way. And I know I asked you this, so you know the answer because we talked about it before we went on. But if you're a watcher of the show, you told a story a little bit ago about the Mighty Ducks and back when you were teaching and how fun of a movie. And it's a Disney movie, so that's just to go along with the theme from yesterday. So we'll throw this out. We'll give our audience 5 seconds to think about it. What do you think the critics thought of the Mighty Ducks on a scale of 1 to 100? Or I guess it could be 0. with 100 being great, 0 being awful, 1. It's like an inbounds pass.
I was way off when you asked me this.
I told you. I asked you what the audience. Oh no, that was a different movie. The audience was good.
Yes.
I think the audience was in the 60s or 70s. The critics gave the Mighty Ducks 21%, which 20% would mean 1 out of every 5 critics gave it a thumbs up, and 4 out of every 5. It's like 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed for their what's that from the old commercial? Recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum. 4 out of 5 critics gave the original a thumbs down. Your thoughts?
Well, my original thought is that people either completely mistook the movie and just thought, like, to me, you're grading it on a scale in the sense of this is a Disney movie, it's a kid's movie. So critics either graded it on a scale above that, like they took it way too seriously, or they completely miss how connected you are when you're a kid to getting the gang together and playing a sport. And if you couldn't connect to that, then you probably rated the movie. Those were my 2 initial thoughts. That's the only way that you could reasonably explain to me as a critic how this is 1 out of 5 stars.
We'll start with that they mistook that it was a kid's movie. Like there's obviously a simpleness and a sweetness to it, and it's not Citizen Kane.
No.
But you know that coming right out of the box, it's about kids playing hockey team on called the Ducks. Like I just don't know. And what's funny about this, we've talked about this. I saw this movie during the pandemic. I had never seen it before, and it was on somewhere, and I saw it and I recorded it, and I was like, sooner or later I should watch this. And one night I put it on, and I don't know, is the right word to say it's kind of adorable?
Yes.
But that's what it is. Yes. And how you can, like, for a movie of 20%, it's that to me has the feel of when you're done watching it and the credits start rolling, you're thinking either that was an hour and 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back, or how did anyone spend any money on this and think that it was good? That is not the thought that I saw when I saw the Mighty Ducks. No. My first thought was, I wonder if the sequel's any good, because that was cute.
The sequels, I enjoy the sequels. I thought what the Mighty Ducks did, and what a lot of movies do well that I enjoy, is putting together a team, putting together a gang, putting together a crew, and each character has their defining characteristic. None of the characters are the same. It doesn't seem like it should work, but because none of them are the same and because it doesn't look like it should work, it works. And very few movies, especially kid movies, do that as well as the Mighty Ducks. Because even in The Sandlot, those kids are different, but they are friends in the sense of they all act the same. They're very much in common. They're very much in sync. The Mighty Ducks is unique because they're not, right? They're out. This person enjoys this and this person enjoys that, and they're outcasts. So I think the Mighty Ducks nailed that. And that's why I said, if you never played a team sport when you were a kid, maybe you completely missed out on that part of the movie and how great it is. There's no relation to you watching it and going like, boy, I remember when I was 9 and going down to the field or the rink and like putting together my team, and we thought we were better than we ever were. And if you didn't experience that, maybe it's 1 star instead of 3.
I guess. I can't imagine like watching this movie and running away. And again, I was 48 years old when I saw it. I can't imagine walking away from it and saying, God, that movie was awful.
I typed down some notes that once you told me you were talking about the Mighty Ducks. First of all, when a character's name is Gordon Bombay, that's one of the greatest character names Disney ever came up with. Gordon Bombay is fantastic. For a hockey player, Gordon Bombay, you don't like it?
No.
Gordon Bombay is great. That alone makes it 2 stars.
I like the figure skating chick that came out. I thought I like that part.
Gordon Bombay is great. The other side of it too, and I didn't realize this until like a year ago when I had rewatched it. He's not a great guy.
Who?
Gordon Bombay.
No,
like he's not like the idea that he got to work with kids is kind of out of this world. I mean, I guess maybe that's who coached Little League and
it's very Bad News Bears-ish from that point.
Yes. Like you would never, like you would, if Jimmy was 10, you would not have wanted Gordon Bombay to be his coach.
But that's part of it. It's like the misfit kids that nobody wanted to coach. And
yes.
Yeah, their best scorer couldn't skate. Like that's, I don't know. I see how people could watch it and say it wasn't great. I don't see how people watched it and walked away with a bad feeling, though.
And then last is just the nickname. I mean, like, think of like Bad News Bears, and I'm trying to think of like other movies that have had like significant sports references to it. As great as those movies are, there's never been a team that actually the nickname was so good that they actually named a professional team after the movie.
Well, but they did that for a reason.
I'm just saying.
Because Disney owned the professional team too, and the professional teams in Anaheim where Disney is.
Listen, the Indiana Pacers aren't the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, I know the college is, but the college always was. But like, you and I could go through every sports movie, and no other sports movie or team has been affiliated with a professional sports franchise. That's how good that nickname was.
No, and I get, and it represents, it's not anything like, it's not like a raptor or a laser or anything. It's like we're a duck.
Yeah.
Like, great. That's how good we are. Nothing says like, forceful and graceful and athletic like a duck.
That's right.
And that's part of the reason it worked.
The ugly duckling.
And they were, that's it, the ugly ducklings, except they were the mighty ugly ducklings.
It is. The logo, which I think is on the screen right now, the logo is perfect. Have you seen it with the mask, like with the hockey mask and the bill and the taped up hockey sticks? It is perfect. Even the colors, the purple with the green and I'm trying to think of like other times in movies where there's been like a mascot or there's been like a team uniform and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I wish that was a real team. The Mighty Ducks, you felt that way, and they actually became a real team. You looked at it and like, that logo's awesome, and those colors are sweet. And like in the mid-'90s, it was perfect. And then all of a sudden, it actually happened. You could actually buy the jersey.
Fortunately, there have been times they've been really good. It's not like they haven't been like the Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets they're like, oh, it's a Disney movie, it's a kid's. Like the Ducks have been really good at times.
If we're using the scale, I don't think it's a 21%. It's not a masterpiece. I would say it's somewhere like it's between 2.5 and 3.5 stars. I would imagine that if I had to give it a percentage, I would have said it should fall in that 50 to 60th percentile.
But that's the thing too.
It is better than above average.
But it's not the way Rotten Tomatoes works. It's not like this is a teacher that's grading a paper and says that it's an A, it's a B, it's a C. This is a whole bunch of critics who give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And 4 out of 5 gave it a thumbs down. And that is...
It's above a 50%.
It has to be.
It's an above average
It has to be a thumbs up. Whether it's a 2 thumbs up and you're jumping up and down is one thing, but for what it was supposed to be, it was what it was supposed to be.
You'll have to watch the sequels because the one is they become Team USA, which that's a whole, talk about a Disney stretch. The Mighty Ducks becoming Team USA, but they have to bring in other characters from around the country, and Iceland is like they're the bad guys, and you got to watch it.
Iceland.
It's either D2 or D3. I can't remember which one is that one. So
nothing says evil creatures or evil villains of the world like Iceland.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. So we'll see. Maybe it'd be interesting to look up the sequels and what they got.
And maybe we're wrong and the viewers are going to tell us because, I don't know. I just don't get it.
No, I'm with you. Anything else before we head out today?
No, that's it. I'll be back as the cohort tomorrow.
That's right. Thank you for being my cohort. I appreciate it.
Glad I could help.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
Thank you to Weis Markets.
Thank you to Weis Markets for all your grocery needs. Thank you to NorthcentralPa.com for letting us do this. Be sure to go there for all your local news. I think we've been crushing it lately we've covered the shootings, and we've been really on top of it. So be sure to go there for all your local news. Check us out on Facebook or go to NorthcentralPa.com.
That's it. You did well. You did well. Thanks for bringing your dog. You ate half of my lunch.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
We'll see you.